Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a 2025 Kentucky Derby prospect video where I'm going to be taking a look at a contender for the upcoming Kentucky Derby taking place on the first Saturday in May. The horse I'm going to be taking a look at today is a horse named Caldera, whose sire or father was a horse named Liam's Map, whose dam or mother was a horse named Send Me On My Way, who was out of a horse named Tis Now. So Tis Now is the father of Send Me On My Way. Caldera is trained by D. Wayne Lucas, and the jockey is Rafael Bejarano. Here's a quick list of the Kentucky Derby prospects videos I've already put out. Here's the horse name and video number, followed by the date they were published, followed by the races they have run since I published their videos. So for example, I put out Citizen Bull first. I published that video on January 5th of 2025. And since I published that video breaking down the horse, it has run one time on February 1st, 2025. And his result was first place in a grade 3 race. Number 2, rated by merit. January 9th, I published a video. Since then, this horse has gone off the Derby trail due to injury, and you can pause the video to take a look at who I've covered and win, their results. I'm not going to go over them, but feel free to pause and go check out those videos. But let's move on with Caldera. So the pedigree of Caldera, again, the sire was a horse named Liam's Map. Liam's Map raced 8 times in his career, 6 wins, 2 seconds, and earned $1.4 million in career earnings. Routing or going a mile or more is what a route is. This horse ran it 7 times, 6 wins, 1 second, no thirds. And of course, the Kentucky Derby is a route going a mile and a quarter. The grade 1 level, which the Kentucky Derby is also a grade 1 race, and that is the cream of the crop racing. The horses with the top talent race at the grade 1 level. Liam's Map raced in a grade 1 3 times with 2 wins and a second, so this horse is definitely grade 1 quality. However, Liam's Map never tried the mile and a quarter distance, which is also known as 10 furlongs. And again, a furlong is an eighth of a mile, so 10 furlongs is a mile and a quarter. The longest Liam's Map ever ran was a mile and an eighth, which is a 9 furlong race. So Liam's Map never ran at the Kentucky Derby distance. What does that mean for pedigree? To be determined at this point, at least for this horse, but it's usually a sign of what horses would like to do. Liam's Map was a speed horse with stalking ability, so maybe he can pass on some of that speed. Stalking ability, meaning the horse didn't have to be on the lead, didn't have to be in first place running out in the open. This horse could sit off of a leader and then make his run later on in the race. Liam's Map never ran in any of the Triple Crown events, which consists of the Kentucky Derby, followed by the Preakness Stakes, followed by the Belmont Stakes. Liam's Map never ran in any of the Triple Crown series, but Liam's Map has produced 4 grade 1 winners since 2016 as a sire. The dam for Caldera, a horse named Send Me On My Way, raced 3 times with 1 third place finish, only $9,000 in career earnings, and Caldera is this horse's first offspring to actually race. So not a lot known about the mother of Caldera, Send Me On My Way, but Caldera off to a good start so far, so not much to say about Send Me On My Way. However, the dam sire, the father of Send Me On My Way, was a horse named Tis Now. Tis Now raced 15 times, 8 wins, 4 seconds, 2 thirds, with $6.4 million in career earnings. Routes going a mile or greater, Tis Now ran 14 times, 8 wins, 4 seconds, 2 thirds. So all of his route races, he finished in the top 3. Going a distance of a mile and a quarter or 10 furlongs, Tis Now ran that distance 5 times with 4 wins and a second, and these were all at the top level, grade 1 level races. So maybe Tis Now can pass on some of that longer distance pedigree through the bloodline, through Send Me On My Way. Just the grade 1 level of any distance, Tis Now ran 7 times with 4 wins, 2 seconds, and a third. So again, never out of the top 3 at the top level of racing, which is grade 1. Tis Now also a speed horse with stalking ability, liked to be on the lead, but didn't have to be on the lead. So sire and dam sire, both similar running styles, maybe passes that along. Tis Now won Horse of the Year award in the year 2000, won the Champion Older Horse Award in 2001, and was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2009. Tis Now has produced 16 grade 1 winners from 2000 to 2021, and that, of course, is his stud career. The connections for Caldera, the trainer D. Wayne Lucas, career win rate of 16% from 30,000 starters. At the graded stakes level, a 9% winner from 1,100 starts. D. Wayne Lucas has earned $91 million in career earnings, was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1999, 4-time winner of the Outstanding Trainer Award. In the Kentucky Derby, D. Wayne Lucas has 4 wins, a second, and 5 third-place finishes. He is 89 years old and began training full-time in 1967, so he's certainly a veteran in the barn. Jockey Rafael Bejarano, a career win rate of 19% from 24,000 starts. At the graded stakes level, he's a 14% winner from 1,700 grade 1 starts. Bejarano has ridden Caldera 2 times with 1 win and a second. Bejarano has ridden in the Kentucky Derby 11 times, however his best finish is only 4th place. Last year, Bejarano was ranked 24th in earnings, 94th in wins, and is currently 42 years old. As of now, February 28, 2025, Caldera is currently 45-1 odds in the futures betting pool to win the 2025 Kentucky Derby, according to HorseRacingNation.com. Caldera has 10 Kentucky Derby points so far. He's ranked 34th, and again, the Kentucky Derby is a field of 20, so he's not in the starting gate yet, but he has 10 points, and roughly you're going to need about 50 points to get into the Kentucky Derby, so still some work to do. Caldera's career, he's raced 4 times, 1 win, 2 seconds, and has earned $175,000 in his career. His most recent workout was on March 6th at Oaklawn Park. He worked out 5 furlongs or 5/8 of a mile in 59.2 seconds. This was a bullet, or the fastest workout out of 18 other horses to work out on that day at that track going that distance. Caldera had the best time, and 18 other horses worked out at that distance. A quote I found from the Pollock Report, D. Wayne Lucas, the trainer, said that Caldera will make his next start in the $1 million Louisiana Derby, a Grade 2, at a mile and 3/16 on March 22nd at Fairgrounds, or the $1.5 million Arkansas Derby, a Grade 1, at a mile and an eighth on March 29th at Oaklawn. So not sure where he's going to start yet, but if you want to pay attention to this horse, it's going to be one of those two races from what it sounds like. So why Caldera? This horse was a $500,000 purchase by My Racehorse, and My Racehorse is a racehorse owning syndicate, which allows fans to buy shares of racehorses. You can actually invest in and buy a piece like you would a stock in a racehorse. I've never done it. I've heard mixed reviews. I hear it's good just for the access to the horse, some behind the scenes stuff of what's going on. In terms of a profitability standpoint, I'm not so sure, but if you have $100 extra a month to blow and you just want the access and a horse to root on, might be something worth looking into. But from what I've heard, don't expect to get your money back, just enjoy the ride. But again, I don't know a whole lot about it, but sounds cool, but not a long-term investment strategy, but feel free to look it up on your own time. Also, who doesn't love a long shot? Again, right now, Caldera's 45-1. I wanted to look at some lesser known horses. Of course, everyone knows who the top contenders are at this point. So I want to see some of those horses that might sneak into the starting gate and may or may not have a good shot at winning the race should they sneak in later. Also, a YouTube user at Mama Bear 934 owns a micro share of Caldera and requested a breakdown. So I wanted to show appreciation for viewers and acknowledge them when possible. So here's the horse that Mama Bear 934 owns a piece of, and I also, again, like some of those lesser known horses, so that's why I'm diving into Caldera today. So we'll look at some of his races now. We'll go over some notes of the race. We'll watch the replay. I'll just talk about what I'm seeing, if anything, and then we'll talk about some of the other finishers in that race. So the debut race was on November 1st of 2024 at Churchill Downs. This was a 6 furlong or 6/8 of a mile sprint race on a fast dirt track at Churchill Downs, which is where the Kentucky Derby does take place. Caldera breaks a step slow from post position number 6 out of 12 horses in the field. Caldera finished 6th place by 8.5 lengths at odds of 5-2. He was well backed on debut in a field of 12. So for the public to be betting this horse with so much money and a field of 12 on debut, the horse has never raced before. People aren't quite sure what to make of this horse, at least on paper. There must have been some rumblings that this was a decent horse to go off at odds of 5-2 in a 12-horse field on debut. Caldera inched up towards the front of the pack down the backstretch, ran into the dirt without any noticeable issue. So this horse was running behind other horses and those horses in front, obviously kicking dirt back in his face. And for a horse making his debut, getting dirt kicked in his face without shying away from the dirt says something about the horse, that maybe it's a little more professional on debut than some others. This horse, Caldera, ran up behind horses, but was unable to keep going, kind of ran into traffic, had nowhere to go, as you'll see in the replay. Chase solid fractions. These were the fractions at each quarter of the race. So 22.25 to the first quarter, 45.78 to the half mile, 57.76 to the 5 furlong marker, and finished a 3/4 mile race in 1 minute 10 seconds, 0.25. So pretty quick, and the horses really didn't slow down. If you break out the splits at 22.25, 23 and change, about 12 seconds flat to this 1/8 of a mile, and about 12.5 seconds to the finish. So about evenly raced, so hard to really catch up on horses that aren't slowing down later in the race. Horses were not slowing down in front of them, and this horse ran fairly straight late in the stretch. So sometimes horses, young horses making their debut will kind of veer in and out in the stretch, not sure what to do. There is a learning process for young horses, and this horse ran fairly straight. So being well bet on debut and running pretty straight late in the stretch, this horse seems to be a little more professional on debut than some others I've seen, but let's go ahead and watch the replay now. So our horse is number 6, a big gray horse, hard to miss him once he gets out. And he's off with the white cap. Nope, actually, excuse me, he's in the white cap back here. Broke a step slow, of course. It's kind of in between horses. Again, on debut, this can be a lot for a horse. But the horse is keeping his head down, looks professional. Here he's kind of rushing up a little bit. Nowhere to go, can't really go out. There's horses right in front of him. Would be a tight window to try to squeeze anywhere, especially on debut. He's just kind of waiting, sticking with the pack. Trying to keep my cursor on him. Jockey's arms are starting to go. He's asking the horse to pick it up. Maybe run along the rail. Looks like there might be an opening here. Jockey's arms really working, asking the horse to pick it up. And the bottom half of the screen, we'll see him right here, kind of veering out, just getting some room. Not really gaining on the leaders, which again, I said are not really slowing down. Veered in just a little bit there, but still running straight. Staying on, not really losing ground so much as the leaders are just keeping pace. He's losing a little bit of ground, but nothing too significant. Leaders just finish out well, and Caldera just finishes mid-pack. So some of the others in that race, the first place finisher has 4 career starts, 2 wins and a second. This was a debut for a horse named Speed King. Some of you may have heard of this horse. $700,000 in earnings. Second to Coal Battle next time out, which is another horse I've done, which is also on the Kentucky Derby Trail. This horse won the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes after facing Coal Battle. Was 10th in the Grade 2 Rebel last time out though, but definitely a horse on the Derby Trail with a lot of speed, pretty talented. Second place finisher has 5 career starts, no wins, 4 seconds. This was the horse's second career start. This horse was a $250,000 purchase, has only 1 try routing. Worst finish was on the all-weather at Turfway Park, so it wasn't dirt, wasn't turf, it's a synthetic surface. But this horse has yet to win, tried routing 1 out of his 5 career starts, so maybe this horse just isn't suited or destined to be routing anyways. And this race was a sprint, so the fact that it beat Caldera here, this just might be more of what this horse likes to do. Third place finisher, 2 career starts with a third place finish. This horse was purchased for $240,000, and this was this horse's debut. Fourth place finisher had 3 career starts, a third place finish in his 3 starts, and this was this horse's second start. So Caldera's second start took place on December 13th, 2024 at Oaklawn Park. It was a 1.1 or 8.5 furlongs. So Caldera went from a sprint 3/4 race or 6 furlongs up to a 1.16, so quite a stretch out. It was a fast dirt track, no water on the track at Oaklawn Park. Breaks clean from post position 3 of 7. He finished second by 2 lengths at odds of 6-5. This asterisk indicating that Caldera was the betting favorite. Gets down to the rail, stalks the outside speed from the inside. Number 6 was the front runner early. Caldera was running between the number 7 horse and the rail around the first turn and the backstretch. And for lightly raced horses, being in tight quarters, that can throw them off their game a little bit. We'll watch the horse's body language, see if he's getting a little hyper or stressed out a little bit. But to be in tight quarters for a young horse, that's something to note. Caldera has to wait for the eventual winner to pass while going into the far turn. 3 wide entering the stretch and unable to catch the number 7 horse that got the jump going into the far turn. And the jump is usually a term referred to as the horse that was up close or just made the first move to go after the leaders. So when the 7 got the jump, that means the horse was in front of Caldera, was making his move to go after the leaders and eventually win, leaving Caldera behind him to not only make his move, but also have to run past the 7 horse that, quote, got the jump on him. This race had some slow finishing times. It was a little quick early, but the fact that the finishing times were pretty slow and Caldera was unable to pass leaves a little to be desired. However, it was the horse's second career start, so this horse could be improving and just learning more about what being a racehorse is all about. So now let's take a look at the race. So we're the number 3 here. Again, big gray horse. Breaks cleanly, almost like a quarter step slow, just semi-hesitates, but didn't fall or anything, and then eventually gets out, has some good gate speed. As you can see, he's on the inside of the 6, so he's saving ground, running a shorter distance around the track. But here comes the 7 to his outside. Not that the horse wants to get out, but this horse couldn't get out if he wanted to. Looks to be pretty happy where he's at. But again, tight quarters, but the horse's body language isn't really doing anything, so it doesn't seem like being in tight quarters is an issue for this horse. Still in those tight quarters. They're catching up to the 6. So they're stepping on the gas a little. See, 3 can't get out and can't run straight because of the 6 right in front of them. The 3 would have to slow down, go around the 7. Probably doesn't want to do that. And here goes the 7 making his move. Now the 3 is free to make his move, but the 7 already has a 2-length advantage on the 3. And the 3 still can't run straight because of the 6, so the 3 might have to opt to go around the 7, going a further distance, going wider around a turn. So the race is on. Is anyone going to catch the 6? The 7 has the jump. Here comes the 3, moves to the outside. Looks like he has to catch the 7. The 6 is starting to get past, starting to fade a little bit. The 3 not really making up too much ground, gets out near the center of the track. Veering around just a little bit, passes the 6, but keeps about the same distance from the 7. And finishes second as a 6-5 favorite. So the others in that race, the first place finisher had 7 career starts, 2 wins, a second and a third. This was his 5th start to break his maiden. So this horse has raced 7 times. The race we just watched was this horse's 5th start and finally got his first win. This horse was a $300,000 purchase, won an allowance race going 8.5 furlongs, 2 starts later, and has only won at this track, Oaklawn Park. So maybe this horse just has an affinity for this track and likes the ground here better. So to lose to this horse, maybe not such a blemish on Caldera's record. Our horse finished second, so the third place finisher has only 2 career starts, a third place finish in this race we just watched. This race we just watched was this horse's 2nd career start and hasn't raced since this race that we just watched. Fourth place finisher had 7 career starts, a third place finish. This was this horse's 6th career start and is still a maiden, meaning this horse has yet to win a race. Third start for Caldera, January 17, 2025, again at Oaklawn Park. That was a mile and a 16th, so same distance as last time. On a fast dirt track, same conditions, at the same track. Adds blinkers for this race, which is racing equipment. You'll notice the horses will sometimes wear some hoods on their face with like little cups on their eyes, and that's kind of to block their field of view so they can only really focus on what's in front of them. And I'm not entirely sure what it's all used for. It can be used for different things, but ultimately it's for the horse to show a little bit more speed with less distraction. So the horse isn't looking at what's going on around him, not looking at the horses next to him or right on his hip, but just to kind of be more focused on the race. You could look up what blinkers are for. There's lots of reasons, but generally this is what I hear and what they're used for. Our horse breaks clean from post 7 of 7, so he's the far outside. There were 2 scratches in this race, so actually our horse is number 9, but there's only 7 horses in the race. 2 of them scratched, 2 is inside, so he's still on the outside, breaking from the 7th post, but again, horse number 9. Our horse wins by 5.5 lengths at odds of 8-5. Again, the betting favorite. Clears the field going into the first turn, only 2 wide, so not on the rail, a little bit off. But maybe the addition of blinkers is what helped this horse clear the field. He goes to the lead, and no one is able to pass him. Jockey on a bit of a hold down the backstretch, so trying to ration his speed a little bit, slow him down. The real race begins into the far turn, so that second turn, we'll watch all the horses try to make their run at our leader, and our leader tries to respond in kind and kick away from the rest of the field. The jockey, this is the first time with the current rider, Bejarano, did a good job of rationing speed, running even moderate fractions, and saving enough stamina for the stretch run to win easily. So here are the fractions of the quarters in the race, each quarter mile. So 24 seconds flat to the first quarter mile, 48.73 to the half mile, 1 minute 13.95 to the 3 quarters, 1 minute 39 seconds to the mile, and then finished up the final 16th, the end of the race, in 1 minute 45.63. And if we look at the splits, how fast each quarter was run, it's pretty even throughout, and that's a good, efficient way to run a race, albeit you'd like to see the horse run a little bit quicker overall. But again, third start, this horse is still improving, still getting more muscle put on him, maturing. But he ran the quarters in 24 flat, 24.73, next quarter in 25.22, so a little bit slower, next quarter in 25.29, so about the same, and then finish up the last 16th of a mile in 6.39. You can multiply that by 4 and get roughly 25.5 seconds. So again, all these splits are pretty close. You expect the horse to slow down somewhat later in the race. Obviously, they're getting more tired. So this is relatively even throughout, and again, just an efficient way to run the race. So let's take a look at it now. So our horse on the far outside, the 9, as you can count, there are 7 horses in this race due to the scratch of the 6 and 7. So our horse gets out, see he has the hood on, the white blinkers, gets out, cruises to the lead, not desperate to get out there. Jockey's not super urging, but just has enough natural gate speed to go out to the front, get down near the rail. He's not on the rail. Again, the 2 path, not saving all the ground, but not running wide into a turn. So now if you look at the jockey's body language, his legs are almost at a 45. He's keeping the reins pretty tight. Doesn't want the horse to run off and go too fast early. Again, rationing that speed, setting up some moderate fractions, run real evenly throughout. And see the jockey just not letting the horse go yet, whereas this jockey back here has kind of got his hands down, letting the rein go back and forth. Our jockey, look at the legs, almost at 45-degree angle, trying to pull the horse back a little bit, but doing a good job. Horse isn't fighting him. Jockey's not fighting the horse. Top right, we can look at the fractions, as I mentioned before. Now it looks like the jockey's sort of letting the horse run. This 4 tries to make a move, and now here's where the real race is starting. You can see some other horses in the back of the pack trying to rally up. Caldera starts to kick away a little bit, some separation between him and the second place runner. The jockey on Caldera, pretty calm, not pulling out the whip yet, just pumping with his arms. See how the horse runs down the stretch, nice and straight. Staying the same distance from the rail. Veered in a little bit there, not too badly. Still, the whip hasn't been used. The horse is just doing it under a hand ride. Here, whip comes out, maybe just a little training mechanism, and wins easily. Look good in the stretch. So some of the others from that race, the second place finisher has raced 8 times, still no wins, a second and 3 or in 4 third place finishes. This was this horse's 6th start. This was a $72,000 horse. Third place finisher has 5 starts, 1 third place finish. This was this horse's 4th start of his career and was a $500,000 purchase. Fourth place finisher has raced 6 times, no wins, a second. This was this horse's 5th start, was a $100,000 purchase, and has 1 grade 1 attempt. The most recent start for Caldera, February 16, 2025 at Sunland Park. This was a 1.16 miles yet again, 3rd in a row, 8.5 furlongs on a fast dirt track at Sunland Park. Breaks clean from post number 8 of 8. There was 1 scratch, so our horse again is number 9. This horse was second by a nose at odds of 4-1. This was a Kentucky Derby prep race, so there's points on the board. 20 points to first place, 10 points to second, and this is where Caldera got his 10 points. 6 points to third place, 4 points to fourth, and 2 points to fifth. And again, a rule of thumb, you're going to need about 50 points to get into the Kentucky Derby, maybe more, maybe less. Depends on how many points the other runners have, but about 50 is a nice bar to set for yourself. Our horse breaks clean from post number 8, 5 wide into the first turn, pressing toward the front of the pack. So we're 5 wide into the first turn, and by rule of thumb, for every path wide you are into a full turn, that's how many lengths you are behind. So if 2 horses were running the same speed around the turn, the horse on the rail versus the horse 5 wide into the path, the horse 5 wide would be 4 to 5 lengths behind the horse that ran it on the rail. So for our horse to lose that much ground around the turn is something to note. Our horse opts to stalk the pace by about 3 lengths in the backstretch. Slight head toss entering the backstretch, so something happened, or he's fighting the jockey, maybe wants to go faster and the jockey's not letting him, but just a slight head toss I noticed. I'll try to point that out. This horse begins his rally 3 to 4 wide entering the far turn, so wide around both turns, losing ground, so roughly losing 7 to 9 lengths just going wide around turns compared to any horses that were running on the rail going the same speed. This horse looked to be a winner entering the stretch, but the leader battles back to win in a photo finish 9 lengths ahead of third place finisher. So it was a 2-horse race down the stretch, leaving the third place finisher 9 lengths behind. The fractions of this race by the leader were 23.31, 46.93 to the half mile, a minute 10.99 to the 3/4, 136.23 to the mile, and finish up in 142.64. And if you go back and compare those times to the previous race, this one is roughly 2 seconds faster across the board. Now let's take a look at that race. Here comes our horse. There's Caldera. Here comes our horse. Breaks sharp enough. Back a little bit early. It's going to kind of rush up and again go about 5 wide into this first turn. You see about 4 horses to his inside. Forces him 5 wide. Look how wide he is off the rail here. Just running a further distance. And let some of these horses in front of him settle. But watch the head toss by our horse up top here. Just slight little head toss I noticed. It's coming up. Right there, kind of throwing his head up. Real subtle. Not sure if the jockey's not letting the horse run faster and the horse wants to go. What happened? But just a subtle head toss. Here's the eventual winner, number 4 Getaway Car on the lead. If you look at the bottom half of the screen, you can see our horse is out here stalking these front runners. Looks like he's going to have to go wide again. Can't move to his inside. There's horses there. There's horses right in front of him. So he's making his move now, going around all these horses. So about 4 wide. And now the leader's starting to get asked to go by the jockey. The whip's out on the 4. The 9 just cruises comfortably up. It looks like our horse is going to win by a couple of lengths, but this inside horse just battles back down the stretch. I don't know if it's a herd mentality thing. Sometimes horses want to run with the pack. It's just a natural instinct. Doesn't want to run by horses, but is battling with this front runner. And as you can see, the third place finisher well behind, no threat to winning. But it's going to come down to the wire here. And they're both running well late, and he just ends up losing that photo finish. So the others in that race, the first place finisher has 7 career starts, 3 wins, 2 seconds. This was his most recent start. This is a horse named Getaway Car, who's very much on the Kentucky Derby trail as well. This was a $700,000 purchase, trained by Bob Baffert, who is tied for the most Kentucky Derby wins in history. Currently, Getaway Car has 36 Derby points and 35-1 in the futures betting pool, according to HorseRacingNation.com. And Getaway Car will be making his next start in the Virginia Derby on March 15th at Colonial Downs. So keep an eye on that race. If Getaway Car runs a really good race, that bodes well for Caldera. Typically, horses that run against other horses that improve their next start, that means Caldera is likely to improve next start as well. Just means they're both talented, go in the same direction. So keep an eye out on the Virginia Derby on March 15th for Getaway Car to run a good race. Again, our horse ran second, so we'll look at the third place finisher. 5 career starts, a win, 2 seconds, and a third. This was this horse's most recent start, hasn't raced since. Second in an ungraded stake at Turfway Park prior to this. So a notch below grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. It was an ungraded stake. The fourth place finisher, 4 career starts, 3 wins, no seconds or thirds. This was his 4th place finish, so it's off the board here. This was this horse's most recent start. Had won 2 ungraded stakes at Turf Paradise and Sunland Park prior to this. And those tracks are typically a notch below the Kentucky Derby Trail in general. So Caldera and Getaway Car were some pretty big horses coming to the smaller track. And this 4th place finisher was doing very well at some of these lower level tracks. Maybe not up for the Kentucky Derby task or even running at Oaklawn Stakes, but was doing well where he belongs and just finished 4th behind 2, maybe 3 really good horses. So some positive and negatives about Caldera. Positives, speedy enough to get out and avoid much traffic. The Kentucky Derby does have 20 horses in it, so to be able to get out in front and not have to run past 19 other horses, maybe just have to run by 5, 6, or 7 horses, bodes well and can just avoid some traffic trouble throughout the race. This horse doesn't need the lead, may stalk the leader, so when the gates open in the Kentucky Derby, the jockey can look around, see who's going for the lead, decide where he wants to sit, how far back, how close he wants to be, and all that. Some horses need the lead to do their best running, and this horse seems like he's happy just to stalk the leaders. The Dam Sire, Tis Now, had 5 career starts, 4 wins in a second, and 10 furlong races, again, 1.25 miles, which were all grade 1. The Kentucky Derby is very much a grade 1, 10 furlong race, so maybe some of that ability is passed through the bloodline. This horse is trained by a well-seasoned trainer with previous Derby success. Again, 4 wins, a second, and 5 third-place finishes, so a lot of in-the-money finishes for this trainer. Knows how to get him ready for the big dance. Caldera is lightly raced. It's a fresh horse, only 4 starts thus far. Seems to be learning to ration his speed and run after the leaders in the stretch. So he doesn't need the lead, but also is learning to go after the horses in front of him, although he didn't pass him last time. Ran really well, and again was clear from the 3rd-place finisher. Speed figures have improved every single race, so this horse is getting better and has a race over the Kentucky Derby track, which is Churchill Downs. That was his first race, the sprint race. At least has the experience of running around the track one time. Probably gives the trainer a lot of information about the horse. Some negatives, has not beaten any horses that are Derby bound. So all the horses that have run behind him in races aren't really on the trail at this point. Getaway Car is, but again, lost by a nose in that last race we watched. Current jockey's best finish in the Kentucky Derby is 4th place in 11 tries in the Kentucky Derby. The sire of Caldera, Liam's Map, never attempted 10 furlongs, so I wonder if the distance is a little too much. Again, Tis Now, the Dam Sire, raced 10 furlongs and was very good, but the direct sire never even attempted 10 furlongs, so yet to be determined if Caldera will be able to handle the distance. Does not seem like the fastest horse nor the best late kick of the horses gearing up for the Derby. I can name a couple other horses that are faster out of the gate and also some horses that have a stronger late kick than Caldera has shown thus far. Again, he's only raced 4 times and is improving. Could improve in both of these areas. He could be a little bit faster throughout the race, but also have some of that late kick to be determined, but this is as of this point. Has yet to pass the leader in the stretch. I, again, wonder if he has that herd mentality, just wants to run with the pack, doesn't want to run away and be alone by himself. Again, lightly raced horse. The trainer is very solid, so maybe this horse can just keep improving and learn to pass horses in the stretch. This horse will need to run 1st or 2nd next time out in his biggest test yet, unless he runs 2 more times before the first Saturday in May, which is the Kentucky Derby, which is 3 races in less than 8 weeks. So basically, if this horse comes out and gets 1st or 2nd in a 100-point race, where the 1st place finisher gets 100 points to the Derby and 2nd place, I think, gets 50 points, then he will probably have enough points to enter the Kentucky Derby. If this horse does not run 1st or 2nd, he will need probably to run 1 more time before the Kentucky Derby, in which case he would have run 2 races before the Kentucky Derby, which is in 8 weeks. The Kentucky Derby being his 3rd race, that would be within an 8-week span. That could just tire out a horse that's pretty quick to run 3 times in less than 3 weeks on average each time. So this horse needs to run big his next time out. So look for him to do just that. I'm sure the trainer will spot him in a race he thinks he can win. But if he doesn't run first or second in a 100 points race, he might have to run one more time and then go into the Derby, in which case that could leave the horse a little bit tired, a little bit sore, as we all would be running big races like that back to back to back. And for the last slide, this is my rankings of prospects I've covered thus far with a little note on each horse. The number one horse that I've covered, a horse named Journalism. He's a menacing foe with tactical speed. He can just stalk the pace and has great late kick. He's number one on a lot of people's list, but number one on the horses just I've covered. Again, there's plenty of horses that look talented, could win the Derby. I just haven't covered them. This is just a list for horses I've covered. Number 2, Sovereignty, made a great 3-year-old debut win while closing on a speed favoring track, who actually ran down in that race my number 4 horse that I have. Number 3 is Coal Battle. Number 4, River Thames. And I place Caldera number 5 on my list. Lightly raced and improving. I like his running style, can come from a little bit off the pace. I think there's going to be a lot of speed in this Kentucky Derby coming up. And I trust in the trainer to get this horse to where he needs to be. This trainer's had a lot of success in the Kentucky Derby. This horse is improving. I think the trainer will put him in the right spots. If he keeps improving and gets in the Kentucky Derby gate, I think he looks pretty solid. Again, this is just a list of horses I've covered in this playlist, but I have him number 5 of the horses I've covered. Still has some learning to do. I have confidence in the trainer that he will get this horse right, but to be determined at this point. But so far, and I'll move this list around as races happen, but I have him number 5. Then I have Citizen Bull, East Avenue, Uncle Jim, and Rated by Merit. He's last by default because he is off the Derby trail due to injury. Thanks everybody for watching. Feedback is appreciated. Again, I covered Caldera because someone reached out and said that they owned a micro share, and I wanted to cover some less talked about horses that are on the trail, maybe some up and comers that are long shots. Everyone likes to bet a long shot, and with a little background information, maybe give you some reasons why you will or will not back this horse coming up. Please like, subscribe, and or share with friends. I try to target people that are unfamiliar with horse racing, so if you know anyone that's kind of on the fence about horse racing, maybe a little bit interested but doesn't know a lot, share my playlist with them. I have one called How to Read a Racing Form, where I break down the daunting racing form. It looks like a lot of information, but I break it down into bite-sized pieces, tell you what each section is telling you and how to read it, how to decipher it. It's really easy, and I think it's straightforward. Real short videos. I think there's 10 of them. I also have a playlist called Betting on Horse Racing, where I go over each of the bets that a racetrack typically offers, talk about what the bets are, how much they cost, how to structure a ticket accordingly, and some tips and insight into how I like to play each bet and what I look for when placing such bets. But that's it for Caldera. That's it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for the comments, feedback, like, subscribes. I'm almost to 300 subscribers, so that's cool. Again, just appreciate everybody. Love talking about the sport, and I hope to grow the sport through my channel and whatever else may come my way. So again, thank you all, and I'll see you next time.